Welcome back, everybody, to the Huddle Up podcast presented by the Jeremy Hodge Auto Group, Gridiron Spice, Live Audio, and Keystone Property Management. We're coming back to you more regular now on a Wednesday night. We had a little Saturday session last weekend to kick it off. May start doing some of that, but hey, we're getting right back at it. DG, what's going on, man? How's your hump day, midweek? What's been going on?
Great, man. It's great. If you can see on the screen right now, you see a guy that's on the screen that is big time to me. So I'm fired up. I like you mentioned the Saturday morning. That was a blast. A little cup of coffee on a Saturday morning, man, to get the weekend rolling. That was good stuff. But man, on this episode, on a Thunder game 2, night of Thunder game 2, fired up. But before getting into that,
show,
KD, I see you smiling down there, man. I see you smiling down there. I gotta introduce this guy, man. Coach Kasey Dunn, a huge mentor to me and my position coach in college, a phenomenal ball coach and a great human being. So, man, hey, we welcome you to the show, KD.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, man. Cheers to
you.
Cheers. Yeah, man.
Well, yeah, thanks for joining us for sure.
Yeah, KD, man, this is awesome. I can see you. It's a little dark up there. You're probably tell us where you're at, man. You're in the backwoods or somewhere on top of a mountain. What are you doing, man?
Deep in the woods for sure. So up right now in North Idaho on the St. Joe River. So that's where Mom and I have relocated, and life is good, and just kill shit like time, but kill deer and whatever I can shoot and fish a whole lot. So I think about those wide receivers every damn day. It seems like I got you remember Benny Tonga?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I got a text from him.
I just talked to him like 2 days ago.
Yeah. So Benny sends me this picture of Freak Show wine. Big old cases of Freak Show wine or whatever winery he's at or something like that. And I was like, holy shit, the good old days, man.
That's awesome, man. To the people that don't know, Freak Show, man, that's what the Whiteouts at Oklahoma State, man. They took custom to that name. I don't even know where it started. Did that come with you?
No, I think it was the year before me. Yeah,
okay.
I think back when those guys rolled with it, and I just stuck with it. Couldn't help it.
It held true to a test of time. I think at least to the last couple of years, man. I know those guys are still rolling with it, and there's guys I'll still see social media posts or something with guys, Marcel Aitman and some of those guys that were there through all. They'll still post a Freak Show shirt or something every now and then. So
Freak Time Showtime.
That's right, man. Freak Time Showtime. A lot of guys know about that. So, man, it's
right now, aren't we, Drew? We're just killing your ass right now. All that Oklahoma.
That's okay. We've had some wide receivers come through Oklahoma, so no shame. But hey, you guys have had a great crop of receivers. We'll get into that. We got some questions for you and some of the guys that you've coached. But man, it's just been awesome. Even though I'm an Oklahoma fan, a lot of I'm a ball coach as well too. I coached a lot of high school football and seen a lot of good stuff. And ball is ball, no matter where you're at. So,
amen.
That's right, man. So, Katie, we talked a little bit hunting, fishing, all the stuff you're doing right now. I know you're swinging the sticks. I know you're playing golf. So with that being said, I probably became a bigger Masters fan in my life because of you. As my position coach in college and some of my roommates, them loving golf, man. Austin Hayes and the boys, all those guys, like the Masters took a bigger step in my life, probably at my time in college around you. Obviously, I come back and work for you guys, and we do have big Masters weekend and the whole thing. So did you watch? Do you even get TV up where you're at? Is that a thing?
Thank God for Starlink. Elon.
Did you guys had cell service and all that up there? You were able to watch the
barely. You got that hamster running fast as hell.
There you go.
That's awesome, man. So did you watch it, and what'd you think about Rory's victory? Is that who you thought was going to pull it out? Who were you rooting for, man?
You know what? I did not think he was going to win. I mean, just the odds of back-to-back, there's been 3 or 4 over the course of the Masters and history of the Masters, and odds were against him for sure. Now, it's hard to bet on a guy that's been 1 or 2 in the world for the last, probably 8-9 years. So that was my mistake, certainly not taking that guy. But we had plenty of bets rolling, and he was not on my bet sheet, that's for sure. So
I agree. I agree. Rory's let me down too many times in my life.
Well, and here's the funny fact is, took him 17 years to win his first one, and then he just goes back to back. You know, he's like, hey, why not? You know, let's just get 2 out of the way real quick after these years of, you know, all that. So now it's crazy. But yeah, I didn't think he had it in him to go back to back. But you know, if you think about it, the pressure was off of him. Like, he's already got it off his back. Go out there and swing it, and he was loose, man, for the first 3 rounds. He just went out there and just.
If you were going to go pick a swing on the tour, you would pick his.
Yes, for sure.
When you don't pick his, you're out of your fucking mind.
Well, that or OG Freddie Couples. Hard to argue with that one too.
Exactly.
Yep.
Swing easy, hit hard.
Or if you're talking new age guys, then you got to go with your boy Jake Knapp. That thing is smooth now. That dude is smooth now, right?
Yeah,
but man, no, you're right. That's the odds were stacked against Rory for sure. And it was you touched on it, Drew. It's like you can't when you come off. It's crazy in sports when you come with all the weight lifted off your shoulders. What you could do, it's like there's a whole new man.
Yeah.
Even just you could just see him talking when he talks to the press. He's just a whole new guy, and all the pressure's off and yada yada, all that stuff. So, but kudos to him, man. That was a big win. I'm with you though, KD. My money was not on him. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Hey, with the golf thing, hey, what do you think about David and Kasey? You might have seen it or not, but David, I know you definitely seen it. The new Oklahoma Golf Club, Taylor Gooch, your boy, coming out with a live golf team now and representing Oklahoma with that. I thought that was pretty cool. So
yeah, man, that's KD. Is that news to you?
So Gooch and I used to play a little bit at Carson. Yeah. And obviously he'd kick my ass every single time. And I don't even know if it was legal or not at the time, but we'd make a little bit of a bet. So that son of a gun blasted off of number 1 there from the tips, right? We're playing from the tips. And if you guys ever played there before, it is a mile long. Yeah. And he goes, I don't know, maybe driver 4-iron or 5-iron to about 15 feet. And you just realize how bad we are as amateurs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, no. So not you.
You strokes, we'd play and
no. KD, I love that you say that. You classify us. I know Drew can swing them a little bit. I know for damn sure you can really swing them. Amateur that's me. I'm that conversation. You guys know. You guys can swing them a little bit. I know compared to Taylor Gooch.
Hey, I've played with a few pros. I'm nothing like them, and I shoot pretty decent, mid-70s sometimes, stuff like that. But these guys are on a whole different. Yeah. You know, I could do it maybe one day, but these guys do it 4 days in a row, and that's why they get paid what they get paid because their consistency is unbelievable.
Gooch was awesome. I mean, not just from a playing standpoint and watching him hit that ball, but just being around, hanging out, talking shit, whatever, having a good time, making a few bets here and there, and he owes me money.
There you go. We'll try to get.
He probably needed a hand. You needed a handful of pops, if not 2 or 3. I'm sure.
Yeah, more than a handful.
I mean, that's awesome. That's good stuff. I never knew that. I never knew you played with him, man. That's good stuff. So, all right. So we all play golf these days. That's all good, fun and well. I'm way more of an amateur than y'all. KD, talk to us, man. So we're the Huddle Up podcast, right? So we like talking ball, the whole thing. But start with us. We got some guys that listen to us, man, that are new into the coaching world. I know our guy Murph, he listens to us sometimes, man. So guys like him, take us through a little background of you back in the early days of football, whether it's playing, early days of coaching, to what led you to where you are now.
So, I was playing in Canada at the time, and my wife needed to finish up her degree at the University of Idaho. There was an opportunity to coach at the same time. I got hurt at the same time in Canada. So we just made the decision that we were going to get into coaching. Now, here's the hard part about it is I go out there and I'm volunteering my first year. She's finishing off her degree. And the only way she gets her degree is to get there in the fall, right? So she's got to take this one particular class, only offered in the fall. You got to make the sacrifices. You just do. Otherwise it was another year before we could do anything else and her get her degree. So, but it was awesome at the time. John L. Smith, he let me take a little bit of a break and go elk hunting of all things. Fill up the freezer. For a guy that broke. So our bye week, I was gone for like 3 days, went down to southern Idaho, shot a damn elk, cut it up in the garage. It looked like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And you ate it for how long?
The rest of the year.
On that thing?
The rest of the year, that's all we had. So my wife and I butchered it and packaged it all in our garage. in Idaho. Anyway, so that's the first year, right? I mean, you got no money, and then I get a break and I get the University of San Diego job, and we're living down there again on peanuts. It's just so hard to get in the profession. People don't understand. It's like, oh yeah, you're going to go in and you start coaching college football, or you're going to coach pro or whatever. It ain't even close to that. I mean, the breaks, the people you got to know, the shit that's got to happen for you. And then you hope you don't get fired in your first year there. And you hope you just hang on and be with somebody that maybe is moving on the upward trajectory. And fortunately for us, things happened. And we were able to go back to Idaho after being in San Diego for a year at the University of San Diego. Went back to Idaho, my alma mater, and hung out there for a little bit. And that really got me a jump start into coaching. From there, a lot of those guys, it was just a kind of this hopping spot for everybody in coaching. Scott Linehan, head coach of the Rams for a long time. There's just the list goes on and on of guys that went through there that moved into other jobs around college football and pro football that helped me along the way. And that's what it takes. But so just got to keep your nose to the grindstone, meet people, treat them great. And, at some point it'll come full circle again. Promise you it'll come full circle. And that guy that pisses you off right now, you better be his friend. Might be hiring at some point down the road.
Man, that's a great piece of advice right there. That really is. I tell you what, everybody has their GA stories, right? Of they ate on something cheap or slept on the floor or whatever it is, those GA stories that every coach in the profession at some point has. But going out and killing your own elk for food, that's got to be at the top,
level, man.
That's at the top of mine that I've heard. I've heard a lot of stories from you in my day. I've never heard that one. That's big time. That's big time. And then to just touching on the fact of Janelle, your wife, man, and the sacrifice. We actually talked about this on one of our recent episodes. Is the sacrifices that wives make in general, and to hear that you made that sacrifice in your first year, I would say. If this thing came full circle now and you were to go back then and ask Janelle now, did it pay off? I think it probably paid off.
Oh,
right. So, but it's pretty cool just to hear that sacrifice that you made, because we know the sacrifices that the wives make and the families make. So that's beautiful, man. That's really, really good stuff right there. Okay.
For a little bit, because I think we moved 10 times in the first 12 years of coaching, 10 years of coach, something like that. It's ridiculous. And then we get caught up at Washington State. We're there for a number of years. And then obviously Oklahoma State, we're there for 14 and settled in. Now that was the biggest break of all, because the girls, we get there, we have two daughters, and both of them start elementary school together and graduate Oklahoma State. So you cannot dream up a better scenario for a college football coach than that one right there.
That's awesome.
Your girls go to elementary and finish at the school that you're coaching at. So
yeah.
Pretty good situation. Dream come true for us.
I mean, as rare can get in the coaching profession for a family to have to literally fall into that. And I say that's kind of the kind of way to put fall into that. No. You worked your ass off to get to that point. That's for damn sure. And well deserving of that. So
yeah, and it was just like we had Coach Cale Gundy on a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about the same thing, being able to stay in one place and allowing your family to be connected and being around each other and everything like that too. And I think that was so special that he and yourself got to experience that and got to do that for so many years at one place. That's very rare.
It is a hell of a run until NIL and portal caught us, but life was good.
Well, then you hire guys like this guy over here, man. That probably didn't help.
Yeah, that'll put you in the world. That'll put you in a world of hurt real quick, man.
So it's painful to me, and I got to say this though, it's painful to me that I wish I was still in it for not one particular reason, but certainly this reason is to help out young coaches like David Glidden, and to be there. I was talking about guys that had caught this upward trajectory that I was able to kind of attach to and move forward in the profession. And I wish I could have done that for David and guys like Trayson and, and it just didn't work out that way. I apologize to you, my man. But, I just wish things would have turned a little bit differently for us. But you're a hell of a football coach, man. I hope this thing keeps rolling and you get out there and you're coach Oklahoma State again sometime soon.
Well, I appreciate that. We don't need to go into the sob story. I do appreciate that. I'll tell you,
I had
you
to tell
say
you
that.
though. I didn't tell you right now. I had to tell you that. So
Well, I
it's been on my
appreciate it.
chest for a while.
It does. It means a lot, and I'll show you really where that shows up. Just in this profession in general, is there's a lot of people that say they will do things for you, as far as making a call, reaching out to somebody, standing on the table, whatever that looks like for you. And so, for me to know that I have you to do that, and you've already done that for a number of times, reaching out to people, whatever that looks like, using my network to you. That's what it's. I mean, to say that didn't get to go with you to the upward trajectory, the fact that I got to sit in the meeting room with you and I thought I heard knowledge from you as a player, but then when I got to sit in the meeting room behind the closed doors and really get a grasp of what was going on and why the hell you were such a damn good coach, that meant a lot to me, that I knew I had you on my resume and I could say, no, like faithfully, that somebody call this guy. I know, I think he's going to stand on the table for me. So that's plenty for me. I promise you that.
Every time. Go Cowboys.
That's right, man. That's right. And it's every time I look up and we say something about the Pokes, and I look up in the screen and I see all the OU. But Drew, we don't hate, man. We said it. We don't hate on it. I promise.
Hey, that's all right, man.
Stays alone gone.
Ball is ball.
I can say for KD. Sorry to interrupt you. A lot of respect, man, for for Oklahoma and the job they did for a number of years. That's for sure. I know we may make all the jokes and everything. Me being an Oklahoma kid, raised a Cowboy, but the respect level is there for me for sure for the Sooners. So.
What a damn crime that is. That game's not going on anymore.
It is. It really is. But now, there's some ties there, and you were talking about Oklahoma, OSU. You actually got to work for Mike Stoops at Arizona for a couple years. Talk to us about that, and what was that like to work with Mike and his first couple years there? And another one, were you involved at all in recruiting Gronkowski to Arizona? I know you left there, but did you have any?
Not involved with Gronk. No, not at all. But
you should claim it though.
3 years.
Yeah. So
put your hard hat on when you work with Mike. That's for damn sure. He's an intense person. There is no question about it. And I enjoyed working for him and coaching with him for sure. Mark was also there too. Mike and Mark were together. Mark was the defensive coordinator at the time. Those two guys as a tandem were really good for Arizona. Just didn't work out there. Just kind of some crazy things happened. But I enjoyed Stoops, and I enjoyed the intensity that he brought. And, he brought Bob out one time to speak to the team, and listening to him was phenomenal too. You could see why that guy was, as successful as he was for a number of years. He just has it. Bob does. And so all those Stoops guys were fantastic to me, and everything worked out pretty well. But enjoyed my time.
Tell us your years there. How long were you there, and what did you coach?
I was 3 years coaching running backs. Yeah. So I had Mike Bell and Chris Henry, and I was fortunate, it was one of those, it was kind of a weird situation within football. You know how it goes on a transition from one offense to another. We were two back downhill. I think Makovic was the head coach before, and he wanted to get downhill and just hit you in the teeth and two back football and all that. Well, I was loaded at running back, but all of a sudden we were a one back offense throwing it all over the yard. And so it was kind of a funky deal, but at the end of the day, it worked out pretty good, and I can't complain.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say so, because it worked out pretty good. You mentioned a loaded backfield. We can talk about the loaded core at receiver you had at Oklahoma State that I know I can speak on for anybody that's Oklahoma State that knows your background, man, and knows you mentioned earlier 14 years there. Groups of wideouts that were just at times, man, if people want to talk about putting top receiver cores up there from damn near year to year, you did that. You put those together numerous times. And so it'd be a shame if I didn't mention this with the draft coming up. A couple of guys that you've had drafted, I say a couple, however many it is over the years, and not even just Oklahoma State. If you could say one thing to any coach out there, I mentioned maybe some young coaches, listen, if you could say one thing when you're dealing with guys that are draft picks, you're dealing with top level talent guys, what would you tell a coach on how to handle some of those guys? And if you have any examples of things you remember, like the James Washingtons, the Blackmans, and all those guys, if you have anything like that for us, Tylan Wallace, drop us some of those nuggets if you got anything for us.
Well, it's a little bit twofold. One is in high school, have to play the cards you're dealt. And in college, you can recruit. Basically, you can stack the deck, if you will. So two different things there. There really is two different mindsets. So for me in college, I wanted to surround myself with guys that were similar, that I thought would adhere to a little bit of the coaching that I had, because I knew I wasn't easy to work with. I knew it. You better be 14 yards on 14-yard curl. It is what it is. And so there was not a whole lot of gray area there. So I wanted to recruit guys that I felt like could fall into that window and didn't mind being coached that way. Because if they did, then there was going to be, obviously a little bit of friction between player and coach. So I was able to stack it a little bit that way. From time to time, to be honest with you, you got to go get that guy that is going to push, your envelope as a coach too, and I remember like a Tyron Johnson who just, he came from New Orleans, and the kid was awesome, great player, phenomenal player, but certainly was used to doing it his way. And that's okay. That's fine. If you have one of those guys that's a special player used to doing it his way and maybe doesn't connect with you 100% into hitting a 14-yard curl or sticking that dig at 16 yards and coming across, that's okay. But if you had a room full, then it starts to work against you.
That's tough.
But we had at that time, we had a bunch of players that were locked into the system. Gundy did a great job with that. Rob Glass did a great job with that. Everybody's on the same page. And you could take a few players that maybe would have to fall into that window just a little bit. He was one of them. So really enjoyed, obviously working at Oklahoma State with some of those guys like that and getting a chance to coach them, obviously. Huge getting like a Marcel Aitman who could connect with virtually anybody. You can sit him in a room and he would absolutely connect with any person you brought in there. Chris Lacey, engineering student, played and went on to the draft. He didn't get drafted, went and played for 5 or 6 years, so he spent his time in the league for sure. But here's a guy, graduates from DeSoto High School, comes in and gets an engineering degree. That joker would come to practice. This is no shit. He would come to practice in sweats, and underneath were his pants already, padded up and ready to go. So he would leave class already wearing his pants and ready for practice. He would have one of the equipment guys bring out his shoulder pad and his helmet, so that all he had to do is take off his sweats, put on his shoulder pads and his helmet, and he'd be ready to rock and roll for practice and didn't have to go through the hour-and-a-half prep of what these guys go through, before practice starts. So, it's having guys like that, that start to shape you as a coach and make sure that you certainly appreciate it. Now, if I'm in high school, then you got to be patient. You got to be patient. You got to be available. You got to do all those things. You can't be, I don't think anymore necessarily the hard ass, which I think is creeping into college football now too because of NIL and portal. If the kid doesn't like it anymore, they're gone.
Yeah.
And
a guy could be at 4 different schools in 4 different years now. It's crazy how it's
nuts, and NIL separately would work, I think, in my opinion. Portal separately would work. Together, it's a real pain in the ass. And I think you're seeing that with a lot of coaches that have been in for a long time, myself, Mike Gundy, Saban, all those guys that have been around for a long time. I think, they find it a little bit harder to deal with. But anyway, I'm getting off on a different subject. But it's been a great run with all those receivers for years and freak time, showtime for sure.
Yeah.
So you keeping tabs with some of those? Hold on. Sorry. Yeah. Drew's got a great question for you, I think. Tell me, any of those guys that got drafted, like how many of those guys you keeping up with, kind of, I know it's probably not every day, but you mentioned a few of those guys, Marcel Aitman and Chris Lacey. I know you and James Washington, you talk about bringing in a guy that's similar to you, man, you and James. So you keeping up with all those guys pretty regularly?
Yeah. I talk to Marcel probably once a year. Same with Chris, something like that. And, I'll hear from some of the guys. Juwan Seals has heard from him lately. But, I keep up with James quite a bit. Congratulations to him going in the Hall of Fame. That is looking phenomenal. And
Big time.
And long overdue too. Holy shit. I mean, you can't find a better representative to go in the end, in the Hall of Fame than that guy. All-time leading receiver and just an unbelievable person.
Yep.
So yeah, I've kept in touch with a number of those guys, obviously yourself and Trayson and Tylen. I think, potentially coming up maybe this summer, I'm not sure yet. I think Brennan wants to come up here and hang out and go fishing.
Oh, man.
It'd be awesome, Brennan Presley. And,
talk about an all-time great.
Oh my gosh. And so, yeah, I've kept in touch with quite a bit of those guys. And it's not like we talk every week, like you said, but we're probably talking, some guys once a month and other guys once a year. And, but certainly keeping in touch with those guys.
It's amazing, though. Yeah. It's the bonds. That's the bonds you build, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's incredible. So I have a question for you, and this may be tough for you to answer. May not be so tough for you. For all these groups and all these receivers that you have coached over the years at Oklahoma State, if you had to pick one group in 1 year to go to battle with in one game, which group of receivers from which year would you take from your years at Oklahoma State?
That is a good one. It's either 2011 or 2017.
Yeah. I said 11. It was going to be 2011. I told DG that
11 was
2011
good.
Was good. Yeah.
11 was good. Here's the thing is just, we were really good, but Blackman just tilted it, right? Where if we lost Blackman, I think that would have swung things. If we lost James in 17, I don't know how much that really affects the core. Because there was, at that time, if you look at that receiving core in 17, James is there, Marcel is there, Lacey's there, Tylen's there, Tyron Johnson, I think, is there. There's That's like, this, there's slappies all over.
Dylan Stoner, right?
Stoner, McCleskey, right?
Jinx guy, yeah.
McCleskey, Stoner. It's deep.
That's a deep room. Yeah.
It is. I think there's probably 7 or 8 guys right there that had a chance, played for a little bit in the NFL. And if you put on cleats and you go out there and you play in a preseason game for the NFL, you can play the game. And there's probably 7 or 8 right there that were on that team. It wasn't like that in 11.
Yeah.
We had Blackman, who was unquestioned. He was phenomenal player, phenomenal. But after that, I don't know how many draft picks we had. Hubert was there, really good player, got hurt. Maybe he gets drafted if he's not hurt. Isaiah Anderson, help me out, David. Coop.
Yeah, Coop played for a few years. He had a few years in the
David,
league.
that would have been your first year, right?
It's my freshman year, so don't put me in that conversation with that group.
Hey, you were in the room. Hey, you were in the room.
I had a great view.
You carry some guys' shoulder pads to practice, okay?
That's right.
You got it.
That's right.
You did it.
Yeah. So it was fun. It's hard to argue with having the 5th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And coaching.
That's for sure. It's crazy.
But the depth in 2017, if I really had to pick one, I'd pick 2017.
Yeah,
you said it. You said the answer to it honestly within, like, the perfect answer is what you said, and it almost sounded like early on, like you could almost take what you said of James and the fact that if you took him out, but if you took Blackman out, it's a huge deal. But if you take James out, it's not so big a deal. And the thing is, that's not a knock on James.
Yeah,
it's not a knock on James. Yeah. It's just it's a testament to all the other guys in the room, like you just mentioned, that played in the league, and that it was just plug and place, if you will, with those guys. Like, it didn't matter. So the depth, there's a reason. I don't know if we looked up 2017 and how good y'all were throwing the football. I guarantee you we're probably top 10, top 15 at least. I
remember
Mason at quarterback. So
Highland was our 3rd Z that year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Tyron too.
Man, that's why. So that says it. It's almost like when you said that earlier, anybody that doesn't really know him, I think, well, you just said James Washington is the all-time leading receiver in Oklahoma State football history. But then you're like, but we could take him out and not lose that much? It's like, that doesn't really make sense. But it does make sense if you knew what was in that room too. You know what I mean? So that is pretty crazy, man. That's awesome. That's a great answer. That's what we thought. Those would probably be in the back of my head. I figured those were the two. And when you have, you got 2 Biletnikovs, right? One guy that won 2 himself, another guy that won 1. Yeah. And then in that other room, you mentioned it, right? With
Tylen went,
and he should have won. I mean, somebody could say, "Oh, you could always say he should have won," but when you put up the numbers against the guy that did win, who was it, Amari Cooper or somebody like that?
No,
I
it was,
think
Jerry Judy.
Jerry Judy. I knew it was a Bama guy. You put up their
One of those
numbers.
guys.
It wasn't even close though. What their numbers were, especially I thought was really cool. Now maybe they had some blowout wins, but their fourth quarter numbers, I remember seeing that. And Thailand had huge production in crunch time.
Yep.
Fourth quarter numbers were a big
We
deal.
won that thing, and that year, his last game was, I remember this, TCU. And if he goes in there and has a good game versus TCU, it's a slam dunk. I mean, I don't think there's any way they can vote against him. If he has a 100-yard game and just a mediocre whatever game, he gets through it. But the game didn't go our way. We get beat by TCU, and I think he ended up with 50 or 60 yards or whatever it was, and which is just freaking nuts. Then
he had
what's that?
He had 1,500. He had 1,549 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 74 receptions. Washington did in 17, and then Aikman had 1,156, 8 touchdowns, and 59 catches.
No, but now look up Thailand in 19. though. That's the year you're talking about, KD, right?
Yeah.
Thailand in 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was nuts because he had a chance to win it. Well, anyway, so that TCU game happens, and then I think the following week or next week after that, they play the SEC championship game, and Judy goes off, plays a great game, and I think that's the last picture that the voters had in their mind. And I can see why it would happen. He still didn't have the numbers that Thailand had, but I think Thailand would have closed it out with a big game versus TCU. And shoot, that's probably our fault as coaches, bad game plan, whatever it was. And it certainly wasn't Thailand's fault. The guy was phenomenal all year long.
Yeah, phenomenal. That's just the way it goes, honestly. And there's people can say the politics and stuff, but it is true. There are voters. There's real human beings voting, and when stuff sticks out like that in their minds, that's just the way it goes.
Yep, it's emotional voting sometimes.
That's the way it goes. But I would say this, man.
Let's not kid ourselves. That's why everybody started playing the championship games, right?
Yeah.
Because now you get voted in with the championship. So, okay, if you go in a championship game and you kick somebody's ass and you look pretty, that counts for so much more than what the first 5 games of the year was.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Great point right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think the Big 12 went back to a championship game after that. Is you want to give the voters, you want to give the committee or whoever it is the last chance to see your team on a big stage or against another ranked opponent, to get another metric on that. So yeah.
Yeah. So us that year, Oklahoma State versus TCU, we had a decent team, I think, but certainly it wasn't. We go into that game, lose that game. But if you're in the Big 12 championship game and pull it off somehow, that's what everybody remembers. And that's who they start voting for in the polls and all that shit. They're on this, rise and they're getting their shit together as a team and they're moving forward. Anyway.
Well, I don't think it would have mattered who was playing LSU in that 19 game. LSU was going to win that one no matter what. They were unbelievable.
I'm still pissed about this. Here you go. I'm going to for just a second.
Here we go.
Let's get it.
Fucking 2011.
Yeah.
We don't get in the national championship game. That is absolute fucking bullshit. 100% every which way. And I'm sorry if there's 10-year-olds listening right now, but it is the truth that Oklahoma State, we absolutely should have been in that game. To watch a baseball game, 9-6 or whatever, 7-5, whatever that score was between LSU.
That was LSU and Alabama, wasn't it?
You gotta be kidding me. We're in the country with Blackman and Whedon, 2 first-round draft picks, and we don't get picked to go in that thing? My ass.
Hey, Drew said it before we got on here. We were talking about it. Drew said it. He said we should have gone to the national championship that game.
I did.
When people say that, I'm kind of like, I just brush it off because it is what it is at this point. But to hear you say
that double overtime against Iowa State got you,
It did.
Yeah. After a tragedy.
Yeah.
Man,
but I thought crazy. You guys did enough. I thought you guys did
I'm
enough
whining. I'm whining for sure. But I don't give a damn.
No, I thought you guys did enough to get in that game. I will say that. So
you ain't whining. This is the first time you've probably ever said that in your life. So get it out, man. Pour you another one and get it out. It's beautiful because there are college football fans across the country that remember that year and think the exact same way, even if they have no ties to Oklahoma State. That's for sure. Because they knew what it was that year as far as everything you mentioned.
I've talked to about that year that have come up and said something to me. And really what they say is the Iowa State, just like Drew just said, the Iowa State double overtime game. And they just remember that, as Friday night. And, man. I remember walking off the field going, what the shit just happened?
Yeah.
Well, and if you think about that, it's happened all over college football in different years where teams have just laid an egg against other teams that, there's no reason that they should have beat you, but football is football. And that's the beautiful thing sometimes is any given, game, you've got to have your best every single time. And then sometimes it works out to where a team does get beat and they still get the opportunity to go on. So I think it's a year-to-year thing. And as these committees and the playoff and all this other stuff now is, it's changed so much since, even those years is where, you had 1 and 2 and they played for it. Now you have 12 teams and now they're talking about expanding that. And, it all comes down to money and TV rights and all this other garbage. So
would have been fun to see.
TV time out. I'm going to grab some more whiskey and I got to put another couple logs on the fire. So
we are taking a whiskey break here.
That's beautiful. Go ahead.
That's it, man. So, but no, that's sometimes in college football, it's funny. And even in sports as a whole, things don't bounce your way and you may get another opportunity down the road. And then other teams, that you don't feel is less deserving or more deserving, they get the opportunity.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. And it's funny now because you think about it, because you mentioned the playoff and the way things go now. Man, how fun would it have been to see that offense go through a playoff stretch and play a few more games with Whedon and Blackman at the helm and all those other guys. Hell, we talk at Oklahoma State, man, the last few years, and I know KD would attest to this, like the offensive line that played on that team in 2011 for Oklahoma State. I know they were in an air raid offense or whatever, so they may not get the love that most offensive lines would get if it was for like a downhill SEC team or offense in general.
Mm-hmm.
But that O-line was solid, man. That O-line was really, really, really good. And they had some guys that anchored that group, some veteran guys that definitely played in the league. And so,
didn't you have, was it that year you had the first round O-line pick? Was it after? Went to Seattle?
That was Russell Okung was before
Okung,
that.
Okay, was he before that? Okay.
Yeah, he was before that. But still, I'm just telling you, that O-line, like I said, like Katie mentioned it,
well, I don't think O-lines get enough credit. Like when you're talking about that kind of stuff, they get overlooked because they see the ball going to all these receivers and everything like that, which is great because, your receivers, and that's who, the fans come to see. But too often than not, your guys as ball coaches, your offensive line, it starts and finishes with what you have up front,
No doubt, man. I'm just telling you that. Shout out to Grant Garner and those boys, man.
Man,
first that year in 2011, that was a solid O-line, man.
Oh my God,
man, that was a good O-line.
That was my first year at OSU too. So I think it's always going to be like this, every damn year.
Well, as both of you guys came in with off to the races. So
that's right. That was my first. My head was spinning. It was like, woo. But I was along for the ride, man. I had a great ticket, front row, right there on the sideline, watching every game. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That was back when they actually had red shirts, right?
Yeah, red shirts was the thing.
Yeah.
I needed 3 of them.
My man Meacham getting those insides done. Awesome.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah, that was that first year, first 2 years. Yeah, see, that's why Coop didn't come to your head, because we had the 2 different rooms. Mm-hmm. Coop wasn't even technically in a room. That's right. Yep, that's right. That's a good call. All right, so let's man, we just went on the OSU tangent. I loved it right there. Sorry for all the Gooner fans. I know. I get
That's
it.
all right.
But it's true, man, KD. I'll say this. That was cool for me to hear that passion come out about that year, because as coaches, a lot of times you got to keep that stuff dialed in. But to hear you let that loose was cool, man. So props to you for getting that out.
You know what else? Okay, so I'm going more. So it's just hard, I think, and maybe it's changing. Maybe it's changing at OSU. But those years, you look back at those, and there were some opportunities in there for us to really nail it down with just monstrous years, like the national championship or a Big 12 championship win or whatever. And, now I look back at it and go, well, if NIL and portal's there, I don't know if Blackman finishes at OSU. I don't know if James finishes there. or Whedon or some of those guys. And, to the fans out there, college football fans, it's so hard anymore to hold on to those guys. As evident in the national championship game, neither quarterback played for their respective team the year before. So it's just getting harder and harder to find that nucleus of guys that wants to stay at a program for a while and kind of hone their craft over 3 to 4 years and then culminate in a 2011 season, a 2017 season. You just don't see that happening anymore. And so I'm a college football fan too, and I hate to see, new faces every single year, just to be honest with you. It's hard for me to look at that too. But anyway.
It makes it hard to follow certain teams like that especially when coaches that are doing it in that similar way, that are trying to build something the right way. It just makes it a little harder to follow.
Well, even for the fans, it's like, all right, well, who's these new guys and what's these new guys' numbers and who's this guy? And, and so from year to year, and not only that, for coaches, you're having to recruit and retain your roster.
Well, like Rivals and 247, all these sporting, recruiting things, all the fans would get behind that for a long time. And they would say, man, we signed so-and-so, Johnny Ray, out of DeSoto High School, and he's a 5-star. Well, his ass is there for a year now. So I don't know, what the fan is thinking about that. I'm kind of curious myself how everything's going with that, because you just don't see those guys finishing. So I can't imagine signing date, and I've been out of it for a year now, but I can't imagine signing date being the same thing as it was in the heyday. I remember getting up in the beginning of my coaching career. You would come in on that Wednesday early as hell and wait for the letters of intent to come through the damn fax machine. And you'd be sitting there like it was Christmas, waiting for these slips of paper to come through saying, we're coming to play at Oklahoma State, or we're coming to play. At the time, I remember it was New Mexico. I was coaching there. And I got my ass chewed by Dennis Franchione. I mean, lit up, because I come rolling, I think it was 7 a.m. or whatever time the fax. Well, we needed to be there at 6 to get ready for I don't know what. The letters were coming through in an hour, but I needed to be there at 6, maybe to have coffee or something.
Yeah.
But I just remember as a young coach, and it always sank in with me that was Christmas Day as a coach. And I don't know that happens anymore. And that's unfortunate.
The build up to that, it's not the same as what it used to be. It's just a fad. And so all the services that you mentioned, it's just not what it used to be. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I remember sending my letter in, honestly, and doing that whole thing. I still faxed whenever I signed in high school. So yeah, for sure. I remember the whole thing. So
here's the crazy part now is you have kids in high school transferring schools, and especially in all that. And now you're getting kids in high school committing to other high schools. And that's right there, I'm just like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And posting it.
Yes,
yeah, for sure in the post, right? So all right. So I'm going to transition us. From continuing to go on this tangent. Hold on. I got one more football thing to lead with, because I will say this, KD, again, not to whatever. I'm not whatever. It's just a cold hard fact, man. You're a wide receiver guru. Like the people that have learned receiver play under you, or other people that have been in the room with you, they know that your stuff when it comes to wide receiver play. And any coach that was in that room with you, I guarantee you, when it comes to receiver play, if there's somewhere else coaching now, they are using your stuff. They are taking your stuff, anything that you shared with them, at least, to the best that they can. And so what I would, on that note, and kind of still talking about the high school kids, what would you say to receivers in general, whether it's high school or college kids coming up these days? Like, what's one or two little nuggets you would give to a receiver as he's coming up and trying to, hone his own craft and that whole thing? And then at the same point, what about a receiver coach? What would you tell him, whether it's high school or college?
I'd say it's both the same thing. So learn to catch. I mean, it sounds crazy, but everything I see now as I look around football, everybody is hammering footwork and, in and out of breaks and sticking this and sticking that. And I see, man, I'm watching videos sometimes and I see a receiver take 4 days to get off the line of scrimmage. What the fuck, man? Come off the football. Don't get your quarterback hit. Give him a chance to throw the ball on time. Let's not do all this shit, and I just think that too many guys, there's too much of, and I know I'm going to get some heat on this one, but there's too much of going to a personal trainer somewhere and not having an offensive line and a defensive line in accordance with that, and just doing these drills out there that take forever. And you don't have 5 seconds to run a play. You just don't. The defensive linemen get there in probably 2.5 seconds now. So if you don't get your shit done in 2.5 seconds, and you're in college football and you're in the pros, you're not playing. You're not playing. So what I would tell you is be efficient off the line of scrimmage. One, just real efficient. Slither, go, get an edge, something, but learn to catch that ball and spend time after time after time of honing your skills on receiving. How do you catch a football? How do you high point a ball? How do you catch a low ball? How do you catch a left-hand dominant ball? How do you catch a right-hand dominant ball? Too many guys out there platter catching and seeing the ball tip off and go and stuff. You got to turn those things over. And if you do that, then you extend your catch radius. You just make yourself a bigger player. If I'm 5'10" and I can catch the ball out here, or I can catch the ball out there, I become a 6'2" player. If I'm 6'2" and I catch the ball here, or I catch the ball here, I become a 5'8" player. And those are things that I think are supremely overlooked in high school and college, especially. In the pros, I don't know if I haven't been there long enough. I spent 2 years in the NFL, so I can't really attest to that. But at the same time, if you're making plays, you just make plays. But, I think that would make you a better receiver all the way around. Learn ball skills. You cannot catch enough footballs. That's my opinion.
That's beautiful, man. We could mic drop and walk out right now. My night is made hearing that.
Yep.
I'm chopping that one up. I'm using that for sure. Yep. That's beautiful. I appreciate that.
It's simple, but if you think about
that.
What is the position? You're a receiver. Your job is to, for the most part, go catch the football. And too often now, I agree with you. You see a lot of these guys that are, training the footwork, which is it's an integral part of what you're doing too. But at the same time, you can't lose, what you're there for, right?
Yeah, for sure. You just take too much time. I don't remember if Dave remembers, but if you think about a dinner plate, right? The steak and the potatoes, that's the quarterback and the offensive line. It is what it is. As receivers, you're the salad on the side, and you're the garnish and all that shit. If you can kind of get involved, that's great. If somebody really wants to have you, awesome. But it's going to happen with the O-line and the quarterback. And to think that you're the main attraction or the main entree, no. You're a part of it. You're a slight part of it. So quarterback, offensive line, build your receiver play around what they can do. If they can protect like freaking Great Wall of China, then great. Maybe you can have some more time in there. But for the most part, it's 2.5 to 3 seconds, balls out.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. That's nuggets right there. I love it. I can't wait. Can't wait to drop that on some people. For real, that's good stuff.
Profound. Absolutely.
That's one thing. If I was gonna somebody, and I've had people in the past, whether
my wife just walked in. Hello, Mom.
What's up, Janelle?
Hi.
If I have people that ask me about Kasey Dunn and his coaching style or what it is, how does he coach receivers? I would say it's simple. It's simple. So you got to be speed releases all day long, and you better know how to get open and catch the football. Period.
Yeah, it's catching.
So the get open part to me was a little intricate. I thought I learned that along the way. It's like, because you got to understand coverage, some leverage, and things like that. You know what I mean? There's obviously more to the game of football, but speed release. Get your ass off the line of scrimmage is for sure. And that's the simplicity part that I try to tell people that you always hammered home with us.
Yeah, get an edge and separate at the top.
If you look at the guys that have done it the best over the years, whether it's in high school, college, pro, whatever it is, it's guys that can create the separation, catch the ball, and find the space, right? And not necessarily the fastest guys out there. Yes, you have your Randy Mosses. Yes, you have those guys that are just elite. But I look at a guy, and a good friend of mine, Ryan Broyles, who was, a smaller guy, but he could find space, and he learned how to just catch the football like you were talking about. here, here, everywhere like that. And Wes Welker, some of these other guys that have made a career
Royals,
at just
love those guys.
Yep. Yeah, like it's unbelievable. And they're not doing anything special. They're doing exactly the things that you're talking about, getting off the line, getting into your route, and catching the ball.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys, I mean, the Welkers, and those guys are talented, but they're not so much more talented than a lot of the guys that play. The difference that they have is that they're just going to focus on a few little things and perfect them. And they've done it year after year after year. And I've always said to the receivers, and Dave knows this, but, if you really want to and you want to put your flavor, sign your play after the catch.
Yep.
If you want to put your signature on it, do it after the catch.
Yep.
Your spin moves, your hit the B buttons 15 times. I don't give a shit at that point. But let's get open, make the catch, and then you can do your thing.
I know you told me this years ago, and I say me. You told the room this years ago. The play actually starts when you get the ball in your hands. As far as what you're going to do, what you're going to create, I heard that years and years ago from you. It was like, listen, this is our part of the play. Your part of the play starts once it hits your hands. Then go do your thing.
Yeah, go score.
That's right, man. That's
really what makes a special receiver special.
For sure.
And so some of it, the guys don't want to hear it all the time coming off the line of scrimmage, and just maybe they had their favorite press release move or whatever that took forever, and I'd try and get it out. But after the catch, if those guys could take that thing and put it in the end zone, now you're really signing the play, with your name on David Glidden. That's my move right there, And you had some good ones too, my man. Remember, I can't remember who we were playing. You split that damn thing, went right down that right sideline. And you remember who we were playing?
I don't know, but it was probably a BCB, that's for sure. That's what it was. But no, we don't put my name in any of the category with those other receivers.
Hey, I bet you we're not doing that, man. Chop up some highlight tapes, and there's some great plays in there. Let me tell you what.
We're not talking about that.
Yeah. Well, I like how humble you are. I love it.
Well, it's easy when they double team everybody else, and I got good old line.
Hey,
and those
it's
and
your role, though, right?
Sit back there and look pretty. I just got to find a little space when they got to double James and Aikman and all those guys out there, man. So that's easy money then at that point.
Hey, that's football.
Well, hey, we're running a little bit out of time here, so I got to end with this. Because it's a big game for the people in Oklahoma City tonight, for the state of Oklahoma with the Thunder, right? And a couple years ago, that game's starting here in about 30 minutes or so. Hopefully it's not close, just like game one was not close, and we can keep rolling here.
Fun. But
fun. There was a couple years ago that we were up there in meetings, and Coach Dagnall, head coach of the Thunder, and Eric Maynor, assistant coach of the Thunder, walk in. I remember they walk in and they sit in Coach Dunn's meetings, and they're just around for the day. So I never really even asked you about that. For one, did you know that was about to happen? And two, what was your take on that? Just having guys in a different sport, but at that level, come in and want to soak up the things that you're teaching.
Yeah, it was a surprise for one. I mean, just that somebody at that level in a different sport, NBA, right, would want to come in and sit down in a receiver room. And flattering, very flattering, I mean, how awesome is that to have, those guys come into our meeting room, sit there for the players, let alone myself, but for the players. So that whole thing was wonderful. Now, I will say this, though. I mean, Mark definitely thought about, what is it going to take to move our team to another level? And so I tip my hat to him there from the standpoint of, he's thinking outside the box. And,
sure.
And a lot of us don't do that, and he did it. He's just trying to find a way to maybe make his team just a little bit better, give them a different edge. And so that was super cool that he started thinking that way. And I started trying to take some of that myself, in my coaching, and just, okay, hey, let's think outside the box. What can we do different than just always watching, other receiver drills or other coaches at a clinic, or, let's do something else and think outside the box here. But going back to him, my take is that he wanted to come in and learn one-on-one, and when he came in, he's like, if you could really kind of focus on one-on-one, that's really what I want to hear, how to move, how to get down the field, how to defeat someone that's keeping you from getting to the basket. There's really no difference, right? I mean, it's reducing his shoulder. It's getting just a little bit of the leverage and an edge with pad level and body control and turning back into a guy and then driving yourself up the field, okay, to either make a break and run a route or driving yourself up the court and take a lay-in. At least I think that's what he was getting at. So we did a big day on one-on-ones, and hopefully, he liked it. I heard from him. He says, great, all that stuff. But I wasn't sure if he was just being cordial or not.
Well, I don't know, but I would say
that's what it was all about. It was all about one-on-one. How do you get to the hole? How do you get to this spot behind your defender about 5 yards behind him? How do you get back on top of that guy? And because once you do that, once you get around him and back on top, you're a winner. It's checkmate. So I think that's what it was all about. Again, super cool that he's thinking outside the box, and wish the best of the Thunder for sure.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, I'd say it's no coincidence, man. He takes that knowledge you gave him and goes and wins an NBA title right after that, the very next season. It works out. No, I agree with you. That is really good stuff, man. The looking for an edge and a different way to teach is something that is when you're doing it for that long, whether it's years and years of coaching or when you get to a certain point in the season, finding the different ways to keep your players involved, finding different ways for your players to get an edge, finding different ways for your team to get an edge is huge. And I think, I'd say that happened in your career. That happened in a lot of coaches that you were around. And I think that's happened with Coach Dagnall to this point, obviously, and the run they've made the last few years now. And then obviously last year and chasing back-to-back this year. So, and to all the Thunder fans that are listening, if they didn't know that one day, Coach Dagnall and Eric Manor went up there and sat in your meetings. I witnessed it. It was cool as hell. And just to know that the coach of that team is doing things like that, like you're talking about thinking outside the box, man, that's big time. That shows that's an innovative guy, in my opinion, that's trying to find ways to relate to his players and put things into play to give them the best advantage they can. So super, super cool. I hope the run to go back to back, because then if that happens, I mean, we'll say ever since he came and met with you, they haven't lost the championship. I mean, that's a fact. So
that's it. That's the recipe. That's the things behind the scenes that sports fans don't see, is that Kasey Dunn having an influence on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah,
little as you know, man. Little as you know.
And I'm sure Dagnall probably texts him every once in a while, but hey, dude, I need, my guards are not getting off the, what can they do to separate? And, you got any out of bounds plays that work for you, and, stuff like that. So,
and I gave Gooch a lot of confidence.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dude,
maybe you were just a million times.
Maybe you were coaching the wrong sport the whole time, man. Yeah. Go coach golf and basketball. Is that what it is?
Maybe that's the next. Hey, maybe that's the next thing.
Is that the retirement gig now?
Yeah, not here in Idaho. That's for damn sure.
All right. All right. Well, hey, we're gonna end with this. Man. Lots of laughs, a lot of great knowledge in this. KD, tell us, is it a wrap? Are your coaching days done?
Damn it, man! You're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot because you're too good.
I told David, I said he's going to have to ask that question. I said I'm not.
You're too good. No, but I want to know. And there's a lot of people that ask that question, and you could give us a BS answer. You don't got to answer that for real. But if the right opportunity came about, you think would you ever consider it?
You know what? To be honest with you, really point blank, it would have to be the right job and the right guy to work for. It really would. I'm enjoying my time with my wife, and we go see our daughters, and we see friends, and I get to hunt and fish, which I haven't been able to do for 33 years of coaching. So I know that seems crazy to a fan out there, to a college, football fan. Like, what? You can go fishing anytime. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
It's 7 days a week.
Time, especially.
You just don't understand how much time is involved. I haven't been able to hunt since that first year when we took the elk at the University of Idaho. And so I went absolutely bonkers this year in spending time in the woods, man. I was out there for, 10-day blocks, just sitting in the trees by myself, so, and I love it. So no, I don't want to go back to doing it again unless it was the right guy, the right job, something like that, and I can name on one hand less than that the guys that would want to work for. So
Yeah, no doubt. I ain't going to put you on the spot that far into detail. That was beautiful. That was a great answer. And if that were to happen, I know whoever that staff is and whoever that guy is hired, for one, that guy would be smart as hell. And the players that get to be around you and the other staff members that get to be around you, man, they would be super fortunate for that to happen. So, man, KD, we are.
Just let Mark Dagnall know where you're going so he can know where to find you, right?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. Make sure he knows where you're if you take that job, that he knows, how to get a hold of you. So
man, that's awesome. That's awesome. KD, man, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you. And that was a blast from the past for me for sure. I know selfishly to get you on here, man, was phenomenal. So we can't thank you enough. The nuggets you dropped on us, spending your time away, getting out of the woods, getting off the golf course, getting out of the river to come join us. Man, we appreciate that, man. And I'm thoroughly happy to hear that you're enjoying life. That's big time. And I know a lot of those guys that we talked about on here that played for you and the guys that you coached with too, because I know you were a phenomenal staff member of other guys, co-worker for those guys to work with too, man. I know they're all fired up for you too, to hear that happiness is happening. So give Janelle my best, give your girls the best, man. And we really appreciate you. I know I'll let Drew close us out here.
Well, no, and I thought about this quote and when you were talking and everything like that, I had a teacher back in high school, and he taught our leadership class, and he always taught us about, being able to stop and enjoy the little things. And he said he would end every class period by saying, "Hey, I love you guys. And remember, the joy of life is in the journey." And so I think a lot of people don't understand that. And for right now, I think you're living it. And, that is awesome that you're enjoying life and get to, at least slow down a little bit and do, what you love and everything like that. And so, hats off to you. And if you're ever back on the sideline somewhere, I'd love to come watch you and hang out. But thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate you and your time. So
thanks, Drew. Appreciate that. And Glitto, appreciate connecting again, man. Awesome.
Been awesome.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys again back maybe Saturday, who knows, or next week for another episode. But thank you guys for joining us on the Huddle Up podcast tonight.